Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching the Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences. We'll get on with the show in just a minute, but first a quick word from my sponsor.
We all work hard, we all have busy lives, therefore learning and playing new games can sometimes be taxing on the mind, especially after a long day at work. I recommend a good cup of coffee as a pick-me-up. So why not check out some varieties from Meeple Coffee? Ethically sourced, sustainable, specialty coffee created by board gamers for board gamers. 5 different varieties, including 1 decaf, and all with pairings for board games to brew them with. I'm currently playing through the Lost Ruins of Arnak solo campaign with a little bit of Explorer's Treasure in my cup. Why not consider a subscription? Get them delivered to your door, never forget to top up your reserves, and get 10% off the cost. So head to Meeple Coffee to grab a beverage that complements your tabletop gaming passion. And don't end up like this guy. Wow, do I really suck my thumb when I sleep?
Get on with it.
Thanks for joining myself and FizzKig here for another top 10. Yes, this is a slightly different format, mainly just the backdrop. The rest of the top 10 will be the same. It's just trying to get this camera and lights in the other room to do the recording and then bring them all back in here with the limited space I've got. It was just too much faff for the sake of a backdrop. So I figured, you know what, just bring it in here, and then if it's a list where I'm talking about games I own, I can actually bring the game out and show it to you. Although this list, that ain't gonna happen, but that's okay. You can just, listen in. But on this list, this is in preparation for Essen 2023. I will be there from, I think, the Tuesday the 3rd to Monday the 9th when I head back. I'm there for the whole convention. I'll be there for the press event. I'll be helping Greater Than Games, Synapse Games, and whatever they're called. They're merged with all sorts of people, and I forget their names, but I'll be essentially with that booth doing a demo on Friday afternoon shift and Saturday afternoon shift, where I've got to demo this game called Pyramido. I have no idea if this game's any good. I haven't even tried it yet. Literally got it in the post the other day. I've unboxed it. It's an abstract game, tile lane, and we'll see if it's any good. But whether it's any good or not, I'm demoing it. So if you want to try out this game and speak to me, then by all means, pop along the booth Friday 2 o'clock onwards, and same for Saturday 2 o'clock onwards, and you'll catch me then. So this list, top 10 anticipated games of Essen. This was tricky to do. Yes, I may sound like a curmudgeon, but honestly, I just wasn't looking forward to a lot of stuff this year. This year, I don't think has been particularly great for board games in general. I think it's been quite sluggish. We haven't had many belters. We've had a few, but not many. It's not really got me excited. And as I look at the stuff at Essen, there are some games that I want, but not many, and some of them I'm kind of like, well, I'll see how it goes. There's not a lot that's getting me like, oh yes, I want to get into those games. And yet I see people sort of going, we've made a top 10, but there's like 30, 40 games I'm really looking forward to. And I'm just like, are you easily impressed or something? Because I swear there's not that many games at Essen that look like amazeballs. But I don't know, maybe people are just excited about anything new. But for me, maybe it just comes with the whole reviewing thing, or perhaps I've just seen so many times, these games come in and out, so that it's like, you know what, I need something different, something unique, and I'm just not seeing that from the games that are on offer. But who knows, maybe I'll be surprised. That's what I enjoy about going to Essen. On top of socializing with everybody, I get to see people, I get to try games, and be surprised, like find some hidden gems along the way. Although this whole layout thing they've got where they've put like the hobby games together and the family games all over the place and stuff, I have a feeling it's going to crash and burn. I think that format is not going to work, but again, hopefully they can surprise me, but we'll have to wait and see. So this top 10, I've basically got 10, just. Like literally just. And even then, I've had to include expansions in this. I have not included demos. So anything that is a demo-only game, not included, because I obviously want to try the demos, but if I can't get the game, there's only so much to look forward to. And also, I have not included games that I've already got or am impending anytime now for Kickstarter/review. So, for example, September from Mind Clash Games. I'm looking forward to that one, but it's literally going to fulfill in the next 2 weeks or so. Maybe the next month tops for me, so I thought, it's not really any reason to look forward to that at Essen, because I'm going to get it any day now, really. And also, I'm not including Zoo Tycoon on the list because I have just spent most of the day unboxing this thing. I've got a review copy here, and, well, I've got the review copy here. I don't need to look forward to it at Essen, so, this one's not going to make the list either. But that's only just because I don't want to include stuff that kind of becomes redundant the second the list is over and it comes in the post. So I've got 10 games here, including expansions, no demos that I am genuinely looking forward to, and a few honorable mentions. I was only just able to do that. So why was it so tricky? Well, maybe you'll gather when you look at these 10 games. My number 10 is a small game from Career Board Games. Now, I like looking at the Asian market stuff when I'm over there because you don't get a lot of that stuff in the UK or in Europe, North America, and they tend to come up with a lot of those hidden gems. I mean, I would have never ever thought of getting Coffee Roaster had I not looked at some of the Asian games and thought, oh, you know what, this could be quite quirky. And Coffee Roaster's still on my shelf down there. It's, you know, a superb solo game. And so, you know, when it comes to like Korea board games and Taiwan board games and Emperor S4 and the Sassy and Sassy, the Japanime games, I'm always keen to look at those. Well, this one from Korea Board Games has caught my eye, Coffee Rush, because it's a theme that I like. You know, I like coffee, I like the idea of being a barrister and making coffee and stuff, and the game sounds very simplistic. You're essentially making orders for coffee and you get penalized if you don't make the orders, and you're moving around on the board in order to get the ingredients. The main reason this hits my 10 though is because of the components, and I know that's shallow, but look at this image. Yeah, you're looking at this image right. Those are plastic pieces or so for the ingredients and that. But those are cups that, I believe, you get in the box. Yes. I don't know if they're plastic, I don't know if they're glass, I do not care. They look fantastic. This is going to look so nice and charming and sort of cute on the table that I just want to try it for those components alone. I mean, the game could be absolute garbage, but those components I'm going to want to use in other games even if that's the case. But, you know, I've got faith that this will be a nice, charming, light game. It's only 30 minutes, 2 to 4 players, so this should be hopefully a nice, simple game. Maybe a gateway game that I can get excited about, because I am kind of on a fix of trying to find some good gateway games over the last couple of years, you know, to replace the stuff like Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne, all the stuff that we already know is great. We need something a little bit more recent. So, yeah, it's a shallow pick, but I don't care.
You don't let me!
My number 9 is a Kickstarter that is fulfilling soon, I believe. I'm not entirely certain, but, you know, I haven't gone on the Kickstarter. This is going to be something that I'm going to check out at Essen called Redwood from Sit Down Games. Now, Sit Down Games have done some very cool stuff lately. I mean, all their stuff looks gorgeous on the table, but I've been singing the praises of stuff like, you know, Tawanaku, that's still on my shelf, and the recent Maps of Mystera, which I believe will also be at Essen. I think it will be. You know, that one you can check out my review for. That one many people haven't heard of, but that's quite a cool little light game as well. This one, though, I was so tempted to get it on the Kickstarter Deluxe. I mean, I know it would have cost me the ends of the earth, but it looks gorgeous, and I love these nature themes. You know, they just get me so immersed into a game. This is about movement estimations and angle of view, where your players are basically photographers taking photographs of the scenery and different animals, and you're trying to compose like a beautiful panorama, kind of like what you were doing in things like Kanigawa and like Tokaido, a few of those games where you had to build up like little art prints, and it was just nice and pretty when you did it. And I'm expecting this to be, again, a nice, light, charming, zen-like game of beautiful nature and some cool sort of measuring with those templates and stuff. You know, this one, I'm not expecting it to blow my mind, but I just think it's going to look so good on the table, and I think it's just going to get me into that kind of light, charmed mood. You know, it's like, you know what, I just want something cool, nice and pretty, and here we go. Redwood should fit the bill. But as I say, Sit Down Games are on a pretty good track record at the moment, so I think it's just hopeful that it's going to continue that trend. You know, they do a lot of cool, very pretty games, and let's fingers crossed that this will be another one. My number 8 on this list is here because I am a fan of this genre. I love deduction games. You know, I've searched for Planet X and its sequel, the Species of Planet X, or what? Species of Planet X? You know what I mean? Lost Species and that. You know, they're pretty much the same game with a few tweaks. I like both of them. But Awkward Guess and various, the Lost Code, you know, all of these, I love these deduction games. Even Turing Machine that I tried recently. So, you know, I love this genre, this like thinkiness, trying to figure out a puzzle. It's my bang. So I almost ignored this one at first because I knew nothing about the game and the title didn't exactly sing to me. But as soon as I watched the Dice Tower's anticipated list, I'm like, oh, okay, let me have a look. This is from Ludonort Games, and I have no idea how to pronounce this. Archaeologic, something like that.
Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip. Cool Whip.
The idea is that this is a deduction game where you are mapping out these like locations of buildings in the city, and that's about as much as I know. But the idea is that you have to like turn these cogs with these dials and stuff in order to try and work out the mapping system, and that is kind of all I really know about it. There's not a lot of information on it, but the images certainly do look cool from a production standpoint, and Ludonaught Games have come out with a couple of little gems for me. I mean, Living Forest, people really like that one, and I've enjoyed that one. It's still on my shelf. And the underrated Precognition. Not for everybody, but I get a kick out of Precognition. I enjoyed the sort of free player game of that, with the whole trying to like pick cards from your hand, some for yourself, some for a neighbor, some for the other neighbor. I found it very interactive and very fun. So I'm hoping that this continues the trend that they've got with me at the moment, but it does look pretty cool on the table. I'm just hoping that the deduction thing is there. And oh yeah, Tawanaku, actually, funny enough, I just mentioned it. So I love this genre. I like these little puzzle games, so I'm hoping that this will be another good one. So show me what you got. My number 7 is a bit like my number 10. The main reason is that I'm quite shallow with this pick. It looks gorgeous and I want to play it. But then I'm also a fan of these clever card games. Just a small box, cards, nothing else, no other components, just clever card system that looks good and makes me want to play it and will be nice and quick. Lookout Games have started this new line of environmentally safe games like no plastic and that, which is cool if that's your thing, but I'm more interested in this because of its imagery and the fact that it does sound like a cool card game, and that is Forest Shuffle. This one, if you look at the images, oh my word, is this gorgeous. Look at those pictures. I want to get this card game stacked just for those. But it's supposedly a game of multi-use cards and chaining bonuses where you're effectively like drawing cards and then playing them on the table as trees or saplings or as like little critters and stuff. And it's like, okay, and other than that, I don't know much about the mechanics of it. But, Lookout Games do some cool stuff, and I do enjoy just a quirky card game. And I figured I got to have a look at some card games while I'm there, but I couldn't see that many that were like, oh yeah, this one like works for me. But this one, it could bomb, it could be bad, but I've heard good things. I've heard decent reviews, I've heard some buzz, but for the most part, wow, just look at the wretched thing. And maybe I'm just a sucker for for nature games, which kind of makes sense. I mean, nature is one of my favorite themes you can put in a game because it always generally looks gorgeous, and that's kind of what I want. I'm just hoping that this has some clever card play to make me come back to it and works with more than just 2 players. I think it's more than 2 players, I'll have to double check. But yeah, I'm go for it. Shallow, I don't care. If things look good, I'm going to be more interested in them than if they look like garbage. I'm not going to look at something like Carpe Diem from Stefan Feld, if somebody puts that on the table because it looks like garbage.
It does look like she was beaten with an ugly stick.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, yes, but then the first bite is also with the eye, so come on, make an effort. Entice me.
Salted pork.
For my number 6, we're taking a poke at Artipia Games, and Artipia Games haven't put out anything new that I've sort of jumped on for a while. I mean, I sing the praises of stuff like, Pursuit of Happiness for good reason, but, I've been interested to see if they could come out with another big title that really gets me going, and this one, Ceres, or Keres, or whatever, I'm pronouncing it Ceres, sounds like something that could be pretty cool. A 1 to 4 player worker placement game with a revolving kind of like, well, not revolving, but basically a moving asteroid belt map, where you're essentially trying to build yourself up, launch mining probes, get more income, improve with technologies, all that cool classic stuff you do in space. But it's, Artipia Games are due for a big game, a big hit to really get me in. And this one sounds like it's going to be pretty meaty, because if you've got to time all your actions with where the things on the asteroid belt are, then that's going to add to the thinkiness level. It's going to add to you're going to have to plan out your turns. Worker placement's always a cool thing. Improving technologies and making yourself better, always a pretty good thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm up for a resource management game with a bit of thinkiness and and a bit of forward planning from a publisher that typically hasn't done a lot of this sort of thing. And with a theme that's more interesting. Space mining is certainly better than coal and iron in 19th century or whatever. But I gotta hold myself back a little bit because this feels like a game that's kind of outside of their wheelhouse. So there's no guarantee that this one's going to be a hit, but I'm definitely intrigued to try this one. So come on, Artipia Games, Just give me a best shot. Right, for this choice we are looking at Czech Game Editions, and no, we're not talking about the Arnak expansion. I already have it, I've already reviewed it, check out the video, I love it, it's amazing, you know, that's already done and dusted. I'm more interested in the upcoming Euro. Now this could have been higher, but one thing that is holding it back is that aesthetically it's not particularly good looking. It's not a particularly great cover, the components and the artwork and that don't look particularly enticing either, and it's like, I'm worried that that's going to hold it back from people giving this one notice, as well as it maybe popping on the table. But I'm interested in Kutna Hora, the City of Silver, I believe. I'm not sure if that's pronounced the first two words, but the City of Silver, effectively. The premise is simple. It's that whole 14th century medieval time period where you're growing and expanding, you're trying to appease the church and build up an industry and stuff and mine. You know, those sort of things are kind of normal, but what's getting me with this one is this idea of it being a very interactive Euro. You have this dynamic price market for the various resources, and everybody's kind of like a member of a guild that can influence those prices, but depending what people build and do on the board determines like some of the pricing adjustments. And the idea is that you can kind of have control or even command of some of those prices, and you're thinking like, well, you know, wood's really expensive and that's really annoying them, but if I build this sawmill, there's more wood in the supply, which means it's cheaper. Do I need to get any more wood myself? Not really. You know what, I'm just gonna hold off that sawmill for a bit, and I'm just going to let the price stay high. Sucks to be you. While we're at it, can we have food down a bit cheaper, please? You know, it's...
This bloke won't haggle. Won't haggle?
It's got that element that kind of reminds me of Feudum, the big Euro game, where you had those guilds around the edge, and depending what somebody did in one guild, the output affected somebody in another guild. I loved that system in Feudum, and I'm hoping that this price market gives me that similar kind of feel in something a bit simpler for having an interactive game. And yes, the theme is not exactly selling me, but the idea that I'm not just going to be sat there playing some solo, so your solitaire, build up a church, industry, or whatever game, you know, is enough to get me excited for something a little bit different. And, you know, I've spoken to the people behind it, that, you know, they're passionate about it, you know, they've put a lot of effort into like making the theme and the history side of it work. So, you know, will the aesthetics be a problem? Hopefully not. I mean, it certainly isn't a looker, but I'm hoping that the gameplay more than makes up for it. My number 4 is Whoa. I mean, this one is gonna be an interesting one. This is a bit of a gamble because I don't know the designer that well. I've never really done much with this publisher, and it's a card game based civilization card game. I'm like, okay, it's a tall order, but there are a few things that are getting me excited for Path of Civilization. This is from Captain Games, designed by Fabian Griedel. Fabian Griedel. I am so bad with names, I do apologize. But the idea is that this is the designer, I believe, who was also behind Turing Machine, and I found that to be quite a clever game. But this one is basically, you know, civilization themes, so build up your civilization, military, culture, all that stuff. But it's using a simultaneous card system with like different colors and different types, and it's like, okay, so are you trying to take on Seven Wonders with this game? And even though the mechanics aren't the same as Seven Wonders, I'm not entirely certain if you draft in this one, but the idea that I could have a potentially like a sort of more meaty Seven Wonders is exciting to me. You know, because Seven Wonders I love. It's one of my favorite games. We've got the expansions, love it, love it, love it. And that will always have a place as my light drafting game of choice with a civvy theme. So civilization games tend to get more meaty and more involved, like the Sid Meier stuff that Fantasy Flight have done, and that Europa Universalis or whatever that crazy one is that came out recently. That's like way too big and insane for it. But the idea with this one being kind of like a meatier Seven Wonders, like a card-based civ game, but with more meat to it. Ooh, this is something that hasn't been filled very well in this kind of genre, and I'm excited to find out if they can pull it off. I'm definitely going to be interested in trying to get hold of this one to have a look at. Hopefully the fact that it's from essentially an unknown publisher and a designer I don't know much about, maybe this is time for some new talent to shine. I'll certainly hope that's the case. Right, now we start to get into expansion territory because I've run out of main games to look forward to. But, expansions to games that I already like are going to be things I'm going to get excited about. So they're going to be high on the list anyway. But yeah, when it comes to the excitement level, of course I want to expand something I already love. Kind of that's the point, really. And this one hopefully is going to be a nice small expansion for one of the best gateway games that's come out in recent years, Cascadia Landmarks. This one is supposedly a modular expansion that adds more variety with the scoring animal cards, which is all well and good, but it supposedly adds these new habitat markers and tiles that you can do, which will, give you some more scoring opportunities and, a little bit more meat to the game. Now, my concern is that they make this one a little bit too, too much like, oh dear. I can't teach this to people anymore because it's got too many of these fiddly bits in it. No, I want this to be simple. I want it to be an auto-include. Like, if I'm teaching this game to people, I will happily throw in this expansion without even a second thought. As much as I could just play with it solo, I guess. But still, I'd love to be able to just throw it into every game and have a new type of Cascadia. Because I love Cascadia to bits, but there is only so much repetition you can do with the game on the basis of those animal cards. So it would be nice to have a few more of those. But just, a little mechanic extra or two is not going to hurt it. And I've got faith that Fatal Games know what they're doing. So fingers crossed, don't mess it up. But if you do, I guess I can always just stick with the original Cascadia. But yeah, it's an expansion to one of the best gateway games out there. Of course I want it. My number 2 is from Ares Games. I have technically played this. So this is a tiny bit of a cheat, but I don't have it, and I'm not expected to get it until after Essen, because I believe it will be sent to me after the fact. But I still would like to try it again while I'm at the convention, and I'm of course still excited for this, and that is War of the Ring, the card game, Against the Shadow, I believe it's called. And yeah, I mean, a bit of a long-winded title, but basically it's an expansion to War of the Ring, the card game, which I've already reviewed. Go check out my video for that. And I love the game, I think it's amazing, but it is hard to get to the table because you really want the 2v2, and there's going to be the aspect that somebody knows what they're doing better than others, and there's things you need to be kind of aware of, and it's still fun when it gets to the table, but there is that problem. Although, given the infrequency I can get it to the table, it's not necessarily a big deal. But this is a solo co-op expansion. So you can cooperate with another person, so gaming spouses are always happy, but you can also solo it. And I've tried the mode. I tried it with one of the people at the publishers at UK Games Expo, and it was a surprisingly easy AI to pilot. It has a flowchart and system of how it makes decisions and that, but the decisions are easy to go through. It's not like a David Turksey style flowchart. It doesn't go on for like multiple branches and multiple pages.
This is light.
No, it's a pretty straightforward one that can get on a single reference card, and it made the game playable from a solo perspective. Sadly, you have to play as the good guys, you can't play as the bad guys. Hopefully they'll rectify that in the future, but just to be able to play the game solo every now and again is going to be enough reason for me to get excited, because I thought it worked really well. And also, if somebody wants to learn War of the Ring, the card game, and I don't have 4 players, the co-op's a great way to get them introduced and still keep us on the same level. So yeah, a chance to get a game that I've considered to be a great hit of the year out more often. Yeah, sign me up, please.
Fly, you fools.
And for my number 1, do I need to give this an introduction? You already know what my number 1 is. Of course you know what my number 1 most anticipated game of Essen is. It's not even a game, it's an expansion. Oh yes, it's that expansion. Of course you know I want it. It's for probably one of my top 5 games of all time. It is like one of my favorite Euro games to play. I love this game, Ark Nova, and of course I am going to hunt down with a passion a copy of Marine World. Sadly, the only people who have managed to get hold of it are people in America, because they're the ones who can pre-order it in advance, and Dice Tower's already done a review of it, so it's like, come on, I want my copy here in Europe, please. Or UK, I guess, but I don't know. I still think I'm part of Europe. Screw what Brexit said.
I never get involved in politics.
Yeah, this is going to elevate Ark Nova like tenfold for me. The idea that I've got more universities, more cards, but these sea cards, building aquariums, having these reef dweller abilities that whenever you add one to your zoo, you trigger all of them, so you can have these cool chaining bonuses that go off, but just have all these different cool creatures that you can put in your park now from the aquatic variety. But on top of that, the main thing I'm looking forward to is some more objective cards, because I think we do need more of those badly, and so to add more variety for those will be great. But those action cards, the idea that I can have 2 action cards to replace 2 of the 5 that I have at the start of the game out of a potential 4 choices for each action card that are going to be totally different from what other players have. So it introduces an asymmetric starting setup for every player. It will facilitate new strategies. You don't have to flip those cards over. You might decide to hold back because the effects do change a little bit as you flip them. So there's going to be some cool tactical choices to make on that front. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the abilities that they can do, like making animal cards cheaper, like being able to build over mountains and lakes, being able to play sponsors, from the display easier and stuff. This is going to be such a cool expansion. I mean, my worry is how is this going to be to teach someone who's never played Art Nova before? And I mean, if you feel like they're going to be confident with Art Nova, I would imagine they could be comfortable with this, but I do feel that if it's one of those people who you were a bit uncertain could handle Art Nova in the first place, which as much as I like teaching games, I'm usually very picky on who I teach Art Nova to, but I do have to admit that if you are a heavy gamer and you're getting into Art Nova, I see no reason why the expansion wouldn't work, but that's going to be a big test. Is it going to be one that I'm going to get to the table often, or is it one that I'm going to have to hold back and only play solo? I don't know, but either way, I want it.
Shut up and take my money!
So there you go, that's 10 games, 10 games-ish or whatever that I'm looking forward to, even though I must admit I don't know a ton about some of the lower level games. I like to keep things as more of a surprise. Rather than trying to research every last bit I can about a game, I like to just get an idea of the game and then go, alright, sell it to me. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to have demos of them with any luck, but I'm also going to be at the press event, which means that they can actually sell me the spiel of what the game's about then. And it's like, well, if I've already done the research, that kind of negates the point of doing all those. I want to be surprised. I want to be impressed with something different, and so I don't tend to go into detail when I look up this stuff. With the exception of expansions, that's a different story, Art Nova. But, for the other main games, I'm like, here's the gist of it, here's some reasons why I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to look this up, but I'm not going to research every detail about it. Now, some honourable mentions, and just to curb a few people, who are probably going insane right now. First up, Imperial Miners from Portal. I would like to try this one. I like the Empires in the North game very much. I liked Imperial Settlers. I don't know if this spin-off is going to be as fun as those two, or whether it's just going to be its own harmless little game, but sounds cool. It sounds like it's standalone and can be played in a short time, and it's been a while since I've played something new from Portal, so yeah, I'm down for it, but it just wouldn't be my top 10. What else is on my list over there in the corner? Oh god, yeah. Oh yes, Evacuation. Yeah, so a lot of people are excited for another Vladimir Suchi game from Delicious Games, but that combination is hit and miss for me, because I love Underwater Cities. Underwater Cities is fantastic. I love Pulsar 2849, but that is technically Czech Game Editions, not Delicious Games. So what else has he done? Well, he did Praga Kaput Regnia, whatever it was. Meh. It was alright. And then he did Messina 14 Who Gives a Monkeys What Year or something. Again, meh, not a massive fan. So, I'm not exactly bowled over the second somebody goes, oh, Vladimir Suchi, oh, it's like, Christ our Lord. I'm not quite that excited. Now, the premise of having to, destroy one of your planets, resource-wise, in order to move to this other planet and make that kind of like an economic race game, sounds pretty cool. But it's an honourable mention. It's not one that I'm going to get too excited for, especially if it's going to be super complicated that you won't be able to get it to the table as much. But, the combination has worked before of Vladimir and Delicious Games, so I'm down for being, impressed again. But so far, you haven't really knocked it out of the park since Underwater Cities, and so that was a while ago. You need to step up your game, and hopefully it'll be really good, but I'll find out another time. And of course, yes, everybody's going to be having my head off for this one. Nucleum, from David Turksey and Simone Luciani. Now, this could be amazing, I don't know, and I'm giving it a fair chance. I think I'm getting a review copy of this, but I'm also going to get a demo of this with Paul Grogan, so I'm really doing the best I can to get into this properly. But there are some things that are worrying me. This is a heavy game. It's going to be a David Turksey, Simone Luciani game. Now, Simone Luciani has not made a lot of games I like. He's made some I like, but there's some that I really hate. And David Turksey, lovely bloke. I don't know how he's been tolerant of the fact that I tell it how it is in the past or something. You know, he's got to be the most, like, you know, tolerant person I've ever met. He's a lovely chap. But, you know, his games are kind of hit and miss for me as well. I mean, for every Anachrony and Imperium, there's also a Perseverance and a Defense of Procyon Fury or something. You know, so there's going to be games that I love from him and games that I don't. So it's not enough to get me too excited, but that's not the main reason. The main reason I'm holding this one back is because it's being described to me as a cross-child between Barrage and Brass. I don't like Brass at all. I despise Barrage with all of my passionate hate. And then people with Paul Grogan's recent tutorial were saying, oh yeah, this is giving me a kind of Power Grid feel. Oh my god, you just want to pick every game that I hate out of the box and say this game's like it? Oh boy, I could be jumping into a vat of acid at this point with regards to this game, but I'm going to go in, clear all expectations, and let the game speak for itself with Paul Grogan at the helm, who's going to be the best person I can possibly learn it from. So we'll see. I would love to be surprised and impressed, because some games are like that. Sometimes I venture out of my comfort zone and I go, okay, cool. But, you know, that doesn't happen all the time, and I'm going to obviously, you know, bear with me for that. But I'm going to give it a chance. Hopefully, it's an excellent game. You know, I mean, I love Anachrony, and that's a super complicated game from David Turksey. You know, I like Golem and Newton, and those are two solid games, I believe, from Simone Luciani. And so, there are games that they make that I love. I hope this will be another one, but Brass, Barrage, and Power Grid. Don't mention games like that when you're trying to sell me on a game, please. It's not a good idea. And I think that's about it. Yeah, I can't really think of any other games that I could consider as honourable mentions. So, hopefully I'll find more at Essen to surprise me, but for now I'm keeping expectations quite low, and we'll see what the convention does for me. But I look forward to seeing you. Hopefully, you know, if you see me, just come, shake my hand, say hi. My throat's a little bit sore at the moment, but hopefully by Essen it will have recovered a bit so that I can talk more. Come check out the Pyramido game with me at the Great Indian Game Slot. You know, I'll demo with you there. But, you know, I'm just there to have a good time. I'll be playing with Paul Grogan and Hilmar and a few others in the Premier Inn Essen City Centre Hotel in the evenings, because that's where I'm staying. So yeah, I hope to see you there. Just come and say hi. I cannot wait to see you all, and I hope that these games that I've got on my list are going to impress me, and I hope that the games that I haven't even thought of come out of the woodwork and surprise me, because that's the sort of thing I love to get out of convention. So that's it for me on this episode of the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up on YouTube and let me know your comments down below about the 10 games I've mentioned and the honourable mentions. If a game I haven't mentioned at all, then by all means check it down in the comments below, and if I like the sound of it, I'll go check it out, because I would like some more ideas around my head, and I think a lot of other people would as well. So until next time, remember as always, regardless of what you're looking forward to at Essen, it's still only a game, so I hope you have fun if you're attending, and if you're not, well, I'll be pleased to talk about the games when I get back. Take care, and bye for now.